morning. From the cloudy and rainy Copenhagen, welcome to the webinar Skills and Knowledge Gap Assessment in the Commercial and Manufacturing Sectors in Kenya, hosted by the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. My name is Aris. I'm working as a program officer at the Copenhagen Center, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. A couple of things before we move to the main content of our webinar. This webinar is going to be about 70 minutes long, including time for Q&A at the end. In case you cannot stay until the end or want to get back to our presentations, all the materials and the recording of the whole webinar will be available online in a few days on the Copenhagen Center's knowledge management system. And we have many other webinars and information there. Have a look. Before we start discussing about today's topic, I would like to inform our attendees that we comply with the General Data Protection Act, also known as GDPR. This means that your personal data, such as name, email, workplace, etc., is safely processed and stored, and all of your rights pursuant to the GDPR are respected. You have full access to the data being processed about you, and at any time, you can request that inaccurate data be deleted or rectified. For access or further information, please contact the people that are presented here. A few things about the Copenhagen Center. The Center conducts research and advisory activities in the field of energy efficiency and serves as energy efficiency hub for the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. The Center has an established network of global, regional, and national partners with a broad range of stakeholders to help accelerate the implementation of energy efficiency activities. Now, I would like to briefly introduce the speaker of today's webinar. David worked for the last 33 years in different ministries, including agriculture, rural development, water, environment, and currently working with the Ministry of Energy in Kenya in the Directorate of Renewable Energy as an acting director in charge of energy efficiency and conservation department. He has been instrumental in the development and implementation of energy efficiency and conservation strategy in Kenya. Fenwicks has more than 10 years of experience in energy efficiency, renewable energy, energy policy and economics, quality management systems, and project management fields. He currently works as the Senior Energy Efficiency Officer at Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, where he's been working for 6 years. Here, he is in charge of the Energy Efficiency Department. Keren is a licensed and practicing energy auditor, a certified energy manager, certified water energy efficiency professional, and a certified measurement and verification professional. She has wide experience in conducting energy audits in various sectors, including manufacturing, power generation, hospitality, health, institutions of higher learning, floriculture, supermarkets, and commercial buildings. She has also been engaged in conducting surveys to assess the impact of energy management initiatives in Kenya. And Talat has 23 years of experience working in different organizations, mainly in urban planning, transport, and climate change sectors. Currently, Talat is working as a senior advisor at the UNEP DTU Partnership. At UNEP DTU Partnership, he is currently working on a project on energy efficiency, urban and transport planning, climate vulnerability, and climate action transparency. Finally, I would like to inform that you can send us your questions during the presentations using the dedicate icon, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can at the end. Please do not forget to mention the name of the panelist that the question is for. And now I would like to give the floor to David. David has been the key person in the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency activities in Kenya. So I would like to thank David for the support for this project and all the support that he provided. So David, you have the floor.
Thank you, Aris, and colleagues. Welcome to this webinar. I will say that as a country, we've been doing energy efficiency since the years 2000, and we have come a long way. But we realized that we were not doing perfectly very well, and that is the reason why, as a country, we joined the Sustainable Energy for All initiative in the year 2012, and by the year 2016, we developed our action agenda and investment prospectus. We approached Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency for collaboration, which we quickly and humbly joined hands to support the implementation of energy efficiency actions as identified in the Sustainable Energy for All Action Agenda, and also to generate projects that will translate sustainable energy agenda into implementable actions and measures on the ground. And we also wished to facilitate the energy efficiency sector to come up with the proper policies and the strategies to advance energy efficiency in the country. Towards this end, together with other stakeholders, of course, with the Copenhagen Center, we formulated since 2018 the National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy, which was launched last year in September. And we are now completing the formulation of the implementation action plan for the same. One of the major actions that are recommended in that strategy is capacity building. To be able to cater for the 5 sectors that we've identified in this strategy, one of the new sectors buildings is challenging enough, so that we need now to enhance the capacity skills of our engineers, our architects, and practitioners in energy efficiency to get informed structure on how to implement such a program. We needed to understand what is being trained in the universities, what is being trained in the intermediary institutions, and what we are doing in service for our country. So there was need to analyze what is there and the gaps that are available, so that we can make informed decisions going forward in the area of training of our personnel and our professions. One of the actions identified in the strategy is training, capacity building, especially in buildings. And this study was part of the actions that were suggested or proposed in our strategy. So I can say this is one of the low-lying fruit that we can say we have achieved so far after the strategy. The implementation part of it is starting now, because Keren and team will be sharing with us what we have in the country and what are the gaps that we need to address. And then from there, we'll formulate a program that is suitable for implementation in the field of energy efficiency in the country. So with this, we are excited to get the input from various stakeholders that are going to be invited in this webinar. And going forward after this, we're going to consolidate the comments and eventually validate this work within the country. And from there, we'll formulate a program that is workable. With that knowledge, we are sure we'll get somewhere with informed background and baselines. With that, I will say welcome to this webinar, and your contribution will highly be appreciated. Thank you, Moderator, back to you.
Thank you, David. And I would also like to thank you for the speech, and also on behalf of the Copenhagen Center for all your support that for our activities in Kenya. So I like to give a background, because the work that we are doing here is like more global, and Kenya is part of it. So I just like to present the global part, and then after which Fenwicks and Keren will come in and present the local part of it. So why are we doing this work? So which is basically like the background is set up within the Paris Agreement, and the need to hold the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees centigrade, above the pre-industrial levels, and pursuing the efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. So wherein we see energy is contributing quite largely. Therefore, it is important that we also achieve targets of doubling the improvement in the energy efficiency sector. So there are several activities which are being planned. And then one of the key activities is trying to look at the education sector, which will support all these type of activities. So basically, in essence, we are aiming for a transformation across the value chain with energy efficiency sectors so that we are able to sustain development with minimal energy use. One strong pillar that is required to support these efforts is availability of technical professionals across the value chain. So the basic questions that are being asked is, are education systems, especially in the developing world, providing such skills and knowledge which enable implementation of all energy efficiency activities across the value chain? So in this project, we are trying to answer two main questions. Are there enough skills among the professionals working in the field to implement energy efficiency project? Are education systems tuned enough to provide for the future needs of the skills? So these are very basic questions, and then we have gone ahead and tried to answer these questions. So as a very simplistic methodology, what we try to do is we try to look at the pipeline of the projects and the skills that are required to implement them, and we also try to understand what is there in the market now. What type of professionals work in the market? Where have they got their skills? And what type of educational programs are there? What type of skills do these education programs provide? And this leads us to understanding of the gaps in the skills and knowledge that are required to implement the energy efficiency projects which are in the pipeline for the country to achieve their goals. Once these gaps are known, then we try to look at the best practices in the education programs and the training programs and try to identify courses that are and the contents that are relevant for the country, and we come up with a recommendation to upgrade the academic curriculum in the country. We don't do it for all sectors, so it is very impossible to do it for all sectors, but what we have done is we've chosen 3 countries in 3 different continents. We started with Argentina, wherein we looked at the building sector, and this was done in close coordination with the Department of Energy within the Ministry of Economics there. In Sri Lanka, we did work on the transport sector, and there we got support from the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. And the country that we are focusing today is Kenya. And in Kenya, we have looked at the commercial and the manufacturing sector with a very strong support from the Ministry of Energy and EPRA. So talking about EPRA, I would like to thank Fenwicks. We have already thanked David. He was the beacon for this project. But I would also like to thank equally Fenwicks. He has been the key person here in framing this project, guiding us for relevant activities in Kenya, also looking at the work that we have done and giving comments and guiding us as to how it should be done in Kenya. And of course, we cannot forget Keren. She has been the person who has been the implementer of the activities in Kenya. So I would like to thank Fenwicks and Keren, and I would like to hand the floor over to Fenwicks, who would say more about it. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar, where we will be presenting the results of the previously conducted studies in scale gap analysis amongst energy efficiency experts in the country. Before we start to present results on the findings of the study, I will take this chance to go through the energy efficiency journey that the country has been undertaking. And this journey goes back to the year 2001, when the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization set up the JEFCAM project. The project was under Global Environmental Facility and was implemented through Kenya Association of Manufacturers. In this project, there were 4 major pathways of meeting energy efficiency and conservation goals in the country. The first one was through awareness creation, where energy consuming facilities were educated on the importance of energy efficiency and on the benefits of the same. Then the second was through institutional capacity building and strengthening. That's where institutions championed for energy efficiency went through some capacity building, some improvements in terms of just putting together structures that would be useful to champion for energy efficiency and conservation. Then there was financial capacity, where of course money was required to afford the consultants who could carry out energy efficiency studies in the facilities. An important point to note there in terms of the financial capacity was the creation of the Center for Energy Efficiency and Conservation under KM. And this center has been very useful in terms of providing financial assistance to facilities that wish to carry out energy audits. Then the fourth pathway was through demonstration projects. This KM JFCAM project conducted several energy efficiency projects in facilities for free, and this demonstrated that there was potential to make savings through energy efficiency. In that year, 2001, actually it was realized that there was 10 to 30% avoidable losses that would be eliminated in terms of production and in terms of energy consumption. And that was what the demonstration project was aimed at, trying to demonstrate to the stakeholders that this energy efficiency could be useful for reduction of energy consumption, of course, while maintaining the production quality and quantities. In the year 2004, even after these projects had gone on, KAM launched the EMA Awards. Those are Energy Management Awards. And these awards go to facilities that have conducted energy efficiency projects, and they have demonstrated results. So these EMA Awards were meant to be as a positive reinforcement to the uptake of the concept of energy efficiency. From there, there was the Energy Act in 2006 that created the energy regulator. And of course, the regulator existed, but the regulator wasn't concerned with energy efficiency. But when the regulator was created, the energy efficiency was incorporated amongst her roles. And this led to development of the Energy Management Regulations of 2012. Now, we can recall that when JFCAM was starting, the demonstration projects were voluntary. Actually, in some instances, the project members of KM and JFCAM were persuading facilities so that they can just avail them opportunity to conduct energy audits. But now the Energy Management Regulations of 2012 made it mandatory for facilities to be conducting energy audits. After conducting energy audits, it meant it also mandatory for them to save at least 50% of the recommended energy conservation measures savings. So with these regulations, there were supposed to be energy auditors who were supposed to carry out the audits, and the regulator, and the regulator in this case is the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that's EPRA. The regulator started licensing auditors. Now, these auditors were supposed to be, of course, trained, either have a CEM, have a certification in energy management, the most prevalent in Kenya CEM, or have a master's in energy technology. So with the licensing of energy auditors and with the gazettement of the Energy Management Regulation of 2012, energy efficiency and energy audits became a norm amongst facilities that had been designated to conduct the audits. And designation in this case was facilities that consumed 180,000 units per year. So from there, the now target was to ensure that facilities are conducting audits and they are complying. Although, even though this has been adopted and the facilities have been picking at a good rate, the next phase in energy efficiency and conservation in industrial, commercial, and institutional sectors has been the quality of the energy audits, whereby it was thought that even though the audits are being conducted, there must have been some issues that made the facilities not to implement those recommended measures. And one of them was of course unrealistic energy conservation measures, unrealistic models, and energy savings. So with that, it became necessary that energy auditors have to be improved in terms of the quality of their work. Whereas, of course, there have been trainings in energy management, especially through the CEM and through master's postgraduate courses in energy management, it was realized that there is a possibility the training is not enough and it's not appropriate for the Kenyan market. So therein came the need to carry out the skills gap analysis, which will be instrumental in trying to understand where we're having a problem in terms of capacity. And this skills gap analysis, of course, are now supposed to assist in development of a curriculum that is appropriate, that's for the Kenyan market, and assist in improvement of energy efficiency. I'll deviate a bit and maybe go to other efforts of energy efficiency, apart from this one of energy efficiency in the industrial, commercial, and institutional sectors. Whereas we have these efforts for energy efficiency through energy auditing, the other fronts which the country is also adopting to improve energy efficiency. One of them is through clean cooking. This is through CCAK, Clean Cook Stove Association of Kenya, where the association, together with the Ministry of Energy, have been championing development of clean cooking mechanisms, both in the institutions and the domestic sectors. Develop standards for that, for efficiency. And in future, there are plans to bring about standards and labeling in terms of the cook stoves. The third pathway, apart from the clean cook stoves, is of course through standards and labeling for electric appliances. In the year 2016, Kenya gazetted regulations that have designated 6 appliances that are supposed to meet minimum energy performance standards, that's MEPS. These appliances are currently, we are talking about induction motors, household refrigerators, compact fluorescent lamps, non-ducted air conditioners, double cap fluorescent lamps, and the ballast for the lamps. All these appliances have standards that have been gazetted by the standards body in Kenya, that's Kenya Bureau of Standards, and they are supposed to be measured first in the labs to ascertain that they meet those standards. After they have been measured, then they are supposed to be, the report is supposed to be submitted to the regulator in the country, and then they are now allowed to be imported. So those 3 pathways are important for improvement of energy efficiency. To consolidate on the existing gains and of course to go forward, there is development of the National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy, which was published last year. And this strategy seeks to improve energy efficiency. Apart from the domestic and the industrial sector, of course, there will also be some aspects of agriculture, some aspects of transport, and some aspects of utility. What I mean by utility is generation of power and transmission, where losses are supposed to be reduced. So all these things are now amalgamating to one front, where Kenya is supposed to reduce the carbon emission and then, of course, improve on the productivity of what the country does in terms of service and goods. And UNEP DTU has come in to assist both in terms of the skills gap analysis, where they have been funding the study. Then, of course, they also came in terms of developing the National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy, where now the implementation plan is being developed at the moment. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for paying attention and for attending this webinar. We hope to interact in the future, even as we seek to improve the world in terms of reduction of the emissions and in terms of improvement of the use of energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you to Copenhagen Center for this opportunity. I'm going to present the work that has been carried out for almost the past 1 year on the skills and knowledge gap assessment in the commercial and manufacturing sectors in Kenya. But we've done slightly more than just the manufacturing and the commercial. So in the comprehensive report, it will be much more than what I am saying right here. And even the statistics that we present will be more than what we have here. So this is the outline of my presentation. I'm going to give an overview of the energy efficiency sector in Kenya. Then I'll take you through the methodology that we've used, the requisite skills and knowledge for energy auditors, the skills among in-service EE professionals, sources of the acquired skills and knowledge, applications and processes in facilities that require the EE intervention, the gap in the supply of the EE skills, and finally, how do we bridge this gap? So the background of the energy efficiency sector in Kenya, I think it has been mentioned by both Fenwicks and David. The effort started in the early 2000s. And right now we have a new act, which is the Energy Act 2019. And we have IPRA as the energy sector regulator. Fenwicks works with the regulator. We have two regulatory instruments related to energy efficiency. One is the Energy Management Regulations 2012. So this was based on the old Energy Act, which was 2006. And this targets industrial, commercial, and institutional facilities that consume more than 180,000 kilowatt hours of energy per annum. And here we are talking about both the electricity and the thermal energy. And the regulation require that some designated facilities, which are categorized as medium consumers and large consumers, conduct energy audits once every 3 years, and they submit a report, their energy audit report, to EPRA. EPRA so far has received about 1,500 reports. Only 1,500 facilities have submitted. The reports are more because there could be facilities that have submitted more than once, but the actual number of facilities are about 1,500. Then the facilities are supposed to implement the energy conservation measures so that they achieve 50% of the recommended energy savings that the auditors recommend. Then they are supposed to conduct monitoring of the projects, the EE projects, and they prepare implementation reports. You see the relevance of this. And they are also supposed to designate an energy officer. It's much more than this. I have just picked the highlights that will be related to the skills and the knowledge that we are talking about. Then we have the Energy Appliances, Energy Performance and Labeling Regulations 2016. These are also based on the old Act of 2006. And here, importers and manufacturers are supposed to test their appliances for energy performance. So there are some certain minimum energy performance that are set, and they have to meet these performance criteria. Then they are registered, the appliances are registered by EPRA, and they are given labels, energy consumption labels, to inform the consumer so that when a consumer buys, they already know what to expect to be the energy consumption of these appliances. And the appliances that we are referring to are refrigerators, three-phase induction motors, non-ducted air conditioners, lamps, and ballast for lamps. The most successful so far has been the refrigerators, because motors, quite often, people will import motors as a component of a bigger system, and therefore it does not come as a motor necessarily. So we still have the motors, but it's not good doing as well as the refrigerators. The lamps have sort of been overtaken by the LEDs in the market, and therefore we don't have too much of that going on. Then moving on, we have the energy auditors who are supposed, under the same regulations, the 2012 regulations, energy management regulations, the energy audits are supposed to be conducted by licensed energy auditors. Now, there are certain requirements for licensing, and one is the academic qualification, which the regulations require a bare minimum of a higher national diploma or bachelor's degree or a postgraduate degree. Then the energy auditors, as they apply for the licenses, are supposed to have certification or a postgraduate diploma or master's in energy management. So that is either of those three. And then finally, they are supposed to have conducted at least 5 energy audits. By the time they seek license, they are supposed to have met these 3 criteria. Currently, we have about 87 licensed energy auditors. And there are about 1,500 facilities that have submitted audit reports, as I said earlier on. But when we look at the number that's supposed to carry out the audits, we have about 3,400 facilities. So you can see we are barely halfway. And looking at this, the number of auditors are only 87. That becomes a tall order to meet. Then we have the Kenya National Efficiency and Conservation Strategy that David spoke about, that was launched last year, which targets 5 sectors in Kenya, which is basically households, buildings, agriculture and industry, transport, and the power utilities. And this is a 5-year plan. It is hoped that it will be achieved in 5 years. There are certain targets that are set for each sector. But one of the key highlights, and David mentioned this, is that the strategy recognizes the need for training and capacity building. You can see if we are only at 87, then we need more to achieve this, and this will be expanding the scope. We've not been dealing with the transport sector. We've not been focusing on the buildings. We've not been dealing with power utilities. So you can see the scope will be expanded, and therefore that's why we need to get more energy auditors or more skills, enhancing the skills of those who are already there. In terms of the methodology, how we conducted this study, we did document reviews, and basically we obtained audit reports that had been submitted to IPRA. That was the direct point. We reviewed the energy audit reports because they make comments, and if the reports do not meet the quality, they ask the energy auditors to improve on them and resubmit, or sometimes they just let them pass and they tell them the weaknesses. And we also reviewed other documents. Then the next stage was after reviewing the documents, these are audit reports, but we also needed to find out the skills of the energy officers that are designated. So we picked a few of the facilities and we actually went out to speak to the facilities, and we were basically targeting the energy officers. We also interviewed the energy auditors. In Kenya, we have the energy professionals are mainly the energy auditors. So we had interviews with them. And the local universities, we also wanted to understand what exactly are they training on. So we interviewed the local institutions, not just universities, but also others that are offering energy efficiency courses. And they are promoters, we are government agencies, they are non-government agencies that are promoters of energy efficiency in the country. So we also interviewed them. Now, after all that, we asked ourselves, what are the requisite skills and knowledge that an energy auditor requires? Because primarily in Kenya, what we have are energy auditors. We had skills in energy management, technical knowledge, and analytical skills. So under the energy management, they need to understand the fundamentals of energy management. Tariffs, energy tariffs are very important, data collection and analysis, and establishing the energy performance indices. In terms of technical knowledge, there are very many aspects that they need to look at. They don't have to specialize, but they need to have some basic knowledge on the electrical power system analysis, thermodynamics and heat transfer, combined heat and power, systems optimization, commissioning principles, operation and management practices, new and existing technologies, and the measurement and verification techniques and protocols. They also need to have some statistical analysis skills, whole system analysis, and problem-solving abilities. So the other classifications we had was financial and accounting skills, regulations, standards, and best practices, and other areas that we shall go through. So in terms of their financial and accounting skills, without the economics of energy management is very key. Life cycle cost analysis, financial decision-making processes, economic assessment indicators, financing options, cost control and budgeting, and risk management. Standards, we realize that they are very important so that you can harmonize the auditing process. So we need to look at the national and county laws, rules, regulations, standards, and the policies that are being applied, and the global and sector best practices. Now, the others are in terms of communication and interpersonal skills. You can't carry out the audits if you don't have this. Performance contracting is also going to be quite major because particularly Kenya will be moving to ESPOS. Judgment and decision making is also key, and being able to report and communicate effectively is another skill that's very important. So then we asked ourselves, against this, what do the current energy auditors who are working in Kenya have? They are very good and they understand the energy use. They are very good at establishing energy baseline, data collection and analysis, understanding energy pricing and tariffs. They are very good at that, identifying appropriate energy performance indices, and identification and evaluation of potential EE opportunities. So then we went next, where did they get these skills and knowledge from? And one of them are short courses that are offered by different bodies. And the other is international certification. Remember, we said for them to get licensed, the certification way is one of those. And mainly in Kenya, they'll do the AEE offered Certified Energy Manager, Certified Energy Auditor, and we have a few who have the Certified Measurement and Verification of Professional. Then the postgraduate courses, but we noticed one thing. There is no one, among the ones that we interviewed, there were no energy auditors who get licensed for just having the postgraduate qualification. And this is the breakdown of their qualifications for the sample size that we picked. 53% had either CEM, Certified Energy Auditor, or Professional Energy Manager only. Then we had a 41% that had the certification either of those that I've already talked about. They also have the MSc and they have CMVP. That's 41%. Then a small percentage of 6%, they just have the certification in the MSc. That's very important because we are saying there are gaps in terms of the measurement and verification. So you can see how small a percentage. Then looking at the reports and visiting the facilities, we wanted to understand where do they need these EE interventions. So there are a lot of motors and drives that are in the facilities, refrigeration systems. We have a lot of pumps. We have fans, lighting systems, compressed air systems, HVAC systems, that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And we also have boilers and steam systems. So basically, these are the key areas where we would have EE interventions in Kenya. When we went further and we wanted to understand, yes, you've been conducting audits, but you don't seem to be implementing all the recommendations, then we wanted to understand what are the barriers so that we can get the gaps. And one of the issues that came up is an unrealistic implementation cost. So that's why we were looking at what does an energy auditor need. Then inadequate information on the ECM. So they are not able to go ahead and implement the ECMs if the information given is inadequate. Then they also said that the technologies that are recommended are not always readily available within the Kenyan market. And they also said we don't have enough skilled personnel. Remember, we only have 87 licensed auditors who are doing the audits. So who's doing the implementation? Who's guiding the implementation? Therefore, we looked at the gaps in terms of the energy efficiency skills, and some of them that we realized that the main ones are the ones I'm going to highlight. The energy auditors are not very good in terms of whole system analysis approach. They're doing the components, like for motors, they go and look at the motor, but not the whole system where that motor is being applied, or the pumping system, look at the whole pumping system. So they are lacking that knowledge and the skills of whole system analysis. Then in terms of measurement planning, they'll take measurements, but when it comes to where I've taken a measurement, but where do I use that? Sometimes you have some data that is not being used. Financial appraisal, that also came up in terms of the facility saying that the costs are too high or they are unrealistic, and therefore they need to improve their financial appraisal skills. M&V processes, the regulations require that the auditor gives the M&V process that's going to be used to verify the savings. And therefore, we realize that is a weakness because there are very few auditors who have done the CMVP course. We also have energy accounting. They are not able to account for all the energy consumed by a facility. EE project financing methods, I think that has not been emphasized on, and therefore, the financial institutions also have not embraced energy efficiency, that they can fund the project based on the savings, and therefore that becomes an issue. Project risk analysis, I think a lot of auditors do not really analyze the risks. They just make recommendations without necessarily looking at what are the involved risks. Energy management standards, I think everyone seems to be doing their own thing, but we have standards that are supposed to be followed in energy auditing, but very few are aware of the standards. They were quoting different things. So then, how do we bridge the gaps? For the energy auditors, we are looking at those who are already practicing. We can bridge the gaps through short courses. So we would recommend that they take energy systems optimization courses, energy measurement techniques, and monitoring, because that's where we have a weakness in M&V, financial analysis of the energy savings, EE project financing and performance contracting. I think I've already mentioned Kenya, we are moving towards ESCOs with the draft regulations. We are recommending that we go to ESCOs. Risk assessment and management for the EE projects. And there is introduction to measurement and verification, because this is a whole area in itself. You don't want to go into the details, and that's why we would be recommending let's have an introduction to M&V, not necessarily getting the certification. Energy management regulations and standards, I've already mentioned, they may be aware of the regulations, but the standards they are not very vast with. Energy audit report writing, who is the audience? You're giving this report, but if the consumers of these reports are not engineers, you need to write the language and communicate effectively to people who are non-technical. In terms of postgraduate programs, we looked at two main areas. The technical know-how they seem to have, but energy management needs to be enhanced, and economic analysis. So that's why we've divided these into two main areas. So in energy management, we're talking about energy management and auditing. These are courses that can be included in the postgraduate programs. These are just topics. Energy modeling and optimization, energy measurement techniques, instrumentation and control for energy systems, material and energy balance, measurement and verification, energy efficiency in buildings. We realized it's only one university, one program that's offering energy efficiency in buildings, and that's a key consumer. Energy management and transport. We don't have anything on transport as yet the strategy talks about the transport sector. In terms of economic analysis, we are looking at financial and project management, energy, climate change, and carbon trade, because sometimes the objective for facilities could be the carbon trading or the climate change. They are motivated more by these, so we tie them to the energy economics, and planning. Then the short courses for the energy managers. The new regulations, the regulations that have been drafted will now change from energy officers who are just supposed to be designated to energy managers. So in Kenya, we are moving to another level. Don't just designate an officer, but an energy manager who has some basic knowledge of energy management. So the short courses we recommend would be introduction to energy efficiency and energy management, EE program implementation, reporting and evaluation. Remember, when the energy auditor moves out of site, things are left to the energy manager to run with. So they have to understand, how do you implement these projects, and how do you report, and how do you evaluate those projects? Operations and maintenance practices and requirements, that's very key, because O&M has an influence on the energy consumption. Financing EE projects and performance contracting. If the energy manager does not understand how they can finance, then they shoot down the ideas of the energy auditor. So we need to bring them on board. contract development and project management, you've left them the recommendations. Now, how do they move forward from there? They're also supposed to monitor, so they need to understand the metering, monitoring, and target setting. So, because it's a continuous process, how do they set their targets? And then introduction to measurement and verification. They don't need to go very deep because they can consult, they can engage a consultant to do the M&V for them, but they need to have some basic understanding. Then energy management regulations and standards so that they have a benchmark, what exactly is being done. Effective communication and report writing. Remember, these are the champions, and therefore they need to understand how to bring everyone on board so that they run with it. With that, thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Q&A session, and I would like to ask from all the panelists to activate their web cameras so the attendees will be able to see who are behind that event. And David? Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. So we received a few questions from our audience, and I just would like to repeat one more time that please use the dedicated icon to share your questions with us. So the first question is for you, David, and the question is, how do you see these projects contributing to the energy efficiency work in Kenya?
Thank you, Aris. As I mentioned earlier, the information that we're getting from this consultancy is going to give us baselines. It's going to give us recommendations that we directly use to do a program on what we are planning to train our professionals. So it's work not for the desk, but work which will be implemented in the next 5 years. And this is one of the earliest achievements that we are taking pride of. And I really want to thank Dr. Keren for really bringing it out. And by the time it is brought out for implementation, I'm sure we'll have gotten a lot of more information to enrich this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, for your response. The next question is for you, Keren. And the question goes, do you see enough demand among students for energy efficiency topics in Kenya?
Thank you for the question. In terms of the students, I wouldn't say that they know of that sector as yet. It is still, I would say, as I said, we only have about 87 energy auditors. And currently, what we have is at MSc level, not at undergraduate level. But now, if the sector grows, if the demand grows, remember we are saying we have about 3,800 facilities that should be audited. If you bring on board transport, if you bring on board the buildings, that will be much more. What we obtained was just in terms of the electricity consumption. That estimate of 3,800 is just capturing the electricity consumption. So if we can bring on board everyone, there should be a lot of demand. It's just that people don't understand. For example, we have a new program we host a Pan-African University at JKUAT, and they have just started at mechanical engineering. They have started a course on sustainable energy, and they're handling energy efficiency as part of that, energy management as part of that, which I'm teaching. And there's a lot of interest. It's just that it has not grown. And that program is for the whole of Africa, not just Kenya. So the more we talk about it, the more people know about it. That is what will actually make the students have that, and they want to take it more and more. Otherwise, for now, we don't have the critical mass of people who are talking about energy efficiency.
Thank you very much, Keren, for your response. The next question is for you, Fenwicks. I hope you can still hear us. And the question goes, because you're working so close to the field, do you feel there is a lack of skills in Kenya?
Yes, thank you very much. It's true. We have, actually, it's a question my colleague has just asked me, who is attending the same webinar. When we're looking at the audit reports, what we do, we look at the quality of the report. We always give comments on quality. And actually, we informed part of the research because the consultant interviewed us. So we have a problem in terms of the quality. Although it's not unique, I've done some studies in other countries which are beginning energy audits, and it takes more than a decade to make sure that the people are there to standards and to engineering practice. So we have skills gaps in terms of the audit, in terms of report writing, in terms of converting the data that has been collected into to make sense to the client. And this is what this study is going to assist us, because we'll now have a local curriculum which will be a bit cheaper than the curriculum we are doing from other countries. And then, of course, many applicants or many consultants are going to be part of this field that will improve on the quality of the work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fenwicks. We have another question. Let me check. And Keren, this is for you. And the question is, which institutions would you recommend for a master or a PhD graduate to become an energy auditor?
Fine. I think that question to do with the PhD. I've always told people that a PhD is mostly a concept to do with the one your supervisor and yourself. So most of the times you'd wish to go to a facility which has the equipment, the laboratories, if you want to do a lab, and then it has a strong postgraduate community support. Now that I don't know why Dr. Kebere has not, because she's the one in the education sector. But in Kenya, if you'd wish to do that, there are several universities. I would not want to market for them, but we have Moi University, we have Nairobi University, we have Strathmore University, we have JKUAT, we have Kenyatta University. All these universities have been having some support, but I would advise if anyone is interested to do a PhD, first is in selection of a supervisor. So if you can get Dr. Kebere from JKUAT and you do your PhD in KU, it's still okay. There will be no problem. So the person you need to get is a skilled PhD supervisor. And then next you need to look for a university that's going to support you in terms of the facility. Thank you very much.
That was a tempting question, but I can say with the strategy now, we're also trying to reach out and working together with the academia, and it's upon each interested participant university to take up the sustainable energy, renewable energy, energy efficiency, and bioenergy into practice. And it's demand driven. But a good university like JQAT, Keren was just shy to say it's good. And as Fenwicks has said, we have other technical universities that we can recommend. And again, not only PhD, masters, and any other qualification is most welcome for us to consider.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it was a very challenging question. The next question that we received is for you, Talat, and the question is, why did you choose Kenya for the work?
Okay, I think Kenya was an obvious choice because you see, like, there's so many wonderful people working with us in Kenya, and they have been supporting us through all other activities. So basically, like, it was a follow-up of the work that some of my other colleagues have been doing in Kenya, like Shanley, etc., on the energy efficiency policy in Kenya, and because we were actively part of all those process, and we could work and we could talk to people like David in Kenya, and David introduced us. So we did a pre-feasibility sort of. Me and my colleague went to Kenya to check what can be done and talk to David, etc. And then we found good support in Kenya. So that is why, like, and we identified the sector by doing consultation with David and all others, David Fenwicks and all other stakeholders in Kenya. So the basic answer is because there was so much support in Kenya and there is so much need for doing this in Kenya. So that is why we were in Kenya. It could have been in any other country. For example, in India also, like if you see, I see, like when I did my engineering about 20 years back or maybe 25 years back, and if I look at the books that my son used, maybe the cover has changed, and the quality of graphics has changed, but probably the content is almost same, and authors are almost the same. So there is a real need to really look at the contents and try to see what can be changed and how countries can benefit from it. Hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Talat, for the response to the question. And I think we're running out of time. So I would like to thank for the detailed the responses to the questions. So finally, we come to the end of the webinar. I would like to say thanks to the panelists for the informative and interesting presentations, and to the audience for their active participation. We hope that the presentations will be beneficial for all stakeholders involved in energy efficiency. Thank you for your attention and wish you a good day or night.